Deputy Lahart, you were next, and then Deputy Healy.
Chair, thank you, and thanks to the officials from Irish Water and from the regulator. I appreciate the presentations you've made and the information you've given us. Just a number of questions. In relation to the cost of the abolition of charges, there are varying reports circulating in the media. Some have gone as high as 200 to 250 million in terms of loss of revenue to Irish Water as a result of parliamentary questions that have been put down. The costs have varied depending on who's putting forward the figures, from 58 million to the minister actually said in a recent radio interview that it would cost around 110 million. But the department in a PQ response last October said it would cost 130 million. So that's my first question. What is the cost of abolishing charges?
In terms of lost income?
Yeah,
in terms of lost income, you'll see it for 2017. The additional replacement income we would have to get from the state if we don't have domestic income coming in is around 232 million.
That's in the case of full compliance. That's not estimated, or that's not actual as regards customers having paid.
No, that's just saying in 2017 no customers are paying. So
the cost to the state and the cost to you were two different things. Isn't that right?
No, we have 270 million of revenue we need to fund our business plan in 2017. As no customers are paying charges, then that funding must come from the state, and the total funding that's required in 2017 is 232 million.
132 million.
232 million. Because we have no income coming from domestic customers, therefore it must be provided by the state, and it's 232 million.
Just for the energy,
the cost of the state is different. Because obviously, the state collect a charge, or you collect a charge, and that goes against, that determines how much the state pays you in subvention thereafter. And there's a water conservation grant that has been done away with as well. So that just needs to be, for fear people think that there's a 270 loss to the state. That's not necessarily the case.
Just in relation to the energy regulator, in your view, does the conservation grant, is it connected in any way to conservation?
The introduction of the water conservation grant was a matter of government policy. I mean, we had no...
The energy regulator, I'm just asking you, is it connected in any way to conservation?
We haven't gathered any evidence in relation to the success or otherwise of the water conservation grant, so I couldn't possibly give you a view on that.
How would you measure it, do you think?
I presume you would have to do a survey of people who had been awarded the grant and what measures might have been taken. You might look at the sale of water conservation appliances, etc. But we just don't have that evidence or that analysis, so I couldn't give you a view.
No opinion.
Yeah. Just in relation to slide 9 from Ervia, I mean, I assume at this stage, as public servants, I mean, you use the model of Lord Gosh Éireann, and obviously you'll see now that there's a world of a difference between water and gas. I mean, would you accept that the installation of a gas meter promotes conservation?
In many ways, there's not much difference between a network company that puts pipes in the ground for gas and a network company that puts pipes in the ground for water. There is a fundamental difference between how gas is funded, because it is a utility.
I'm just asking the question, is there a connection? I don't see any connection between metering, a domestic meter for gas, and any kind of potential for conservation of gas by the household. So in other words, I suppose I'm reinforcing the point you made. Irish Water was set up essentially as a business to install water meters that would charge for water. There was no conservation element in it, and this comes to the funding. We'll come to the funding element of this.
Let's step back. Irish Water was not set up as a metering business. It was set up as a utility to address the infrastructure deficits. Its primary responsibility was to fix the problem with water and wastewater. An element of what it did, and only an element, was install water meters, but its primary responsibility is to do what Jerry has outlined, which is to get at the state of the infrastructure, put plans in place and deliver the infrastructure. Separately, the question is, do meters installed incentivise conservation? And all of the evidence will determine that if you are charged for a service and you know how much you're using because you can measure it, then that does incentivise conservation. So the key question about conservation and meters is if there is no direct charge for the service, it is more difficult for you to see how you can conserve it. So metering drives conservation for two reasons. One, because you have information about your usage, and two, if you are paying for that service, you then know that you can make savings. So that's a direct, simple correlation between a meter, a charge and conservation.
I'll need to move on.
Yeah, okay.
In fairness,
I just want to, I do want to, there was a lengthy answer to that, and it was a pretty short question, and I do want to contradict you completely. There's a huge body of evidence against that. There's no suggestion, this is my point, there's no suggestion that a gas meter promotes conservation of gas, and there is no evidence to suggest that an electricity meter promotes the conservation of electricity. On the contrary, in actual fact, if you look at your brother and sister companies, the ESB, for example, it's alternative measures, it's additional measures in terms of energy conservation, whether it's solar energy or appliances that are energy saving. They're the kind of things. It's not the meter that helps a consumer conserve energy. And this is one of the opportunities you guys missed in terms of smart metering that would allow people actually see how much water they were consuming. The only way I know with your metering system how much water I'm using is when I get the bill, or when I got the bill, or is to go out and lift up the lid and look down at the meter. There's no other way of knowing what my appliances were consuming. So you missed a golden opportunity for a seriously smart metering project. Two questions just in relation to commercial.
I'm not going there.
In relation to commercial water rates, because this is key.
I accept it's key,
okay.
but I really want to give other people an opportunity.
Okay. Just two quick questions. When are commercial rates transferring to Irish Water?
The non-domestic charging.
It's purely domestic charging. That's our brief.
But this is to do with funding, actually.
We don't. It's domestic funding. I'm going to go ahead.
This goes to the heart of the funding model, though, too.
This is domestic funding.
I know, but there's a fear
That's
out
what
there,
was decided by both houses of the Oireachtas. That's the direction me and you have been given.
Absolutely, but the commercial funding is in relation to the future funding.
Funding actually gets spent on the same things. I'm sorry to say, I know where you're coming from, but only in name. It's only the name of the committee. It doesn't actually specifically relate to domestic water metering because it crosses both. Irish Water don't differentiate between them. It's the same money.
That's not our brief. It's not my brief.
I know where you're coming from. And
our brief is in relation to the future funding of
domestic water in Ireland. Read it.
Okay, well, Chair, there's no need to be that kind of testy about it. Can I ask the company one question?
I apologise.
Just even a short one.
I know it's a short one. You can